Now this headline's going everywhere, so you had other papers talking about it. Here's like a newspaper from India. You can't see it, it's in the middle left there. Indian sells his soul on eBay for $540. Because Jim Henderson, the guy who bought it, was from Seattle, it's hard to see, but sold on eBay, chance to save atheist soul at the top there. But like, this is crazy. And here's what's really scary. All of these articles from reputable newspapers, they all got facts about the story totally wrong. Like, considering that I thought they would all have fact checkers and stuff. Nope, they like, my age is wrong, the school I attend is wrong, everything about my life totally wrong. So I don't know, that was kind of surreal. The story that I really liked, this was in the Village Voice in New York. I like the bold part. The Stump has racked up several ad campaigns worth of exposure for the product he was actually marketing. Atheism is a wholesome American way of life. That's awesome. And they said really positive things about what Jim was doing too. So it was really, really cool. So all this stuff kind of happens. And all these channels, all the channels, Good Morning America, they all had to cancel because they have real news. Fox News is the only one that's like, hey, we still want to do the story. So this is like on the Saturday or Sunday night after the auction ends. They send a limo to my apartment and drove a block to the Fox News studio. I couldn't walk. And I go upstairs on a Sunday night, and the only people in the studio are the camera guy and the makeup lady. And that's fine. And they're like, all right, just chill out in this room. You can watch the show. It's just some nighttime news show, nothing special. They're like, you can watch the show, and about 10 minutes before you gotta go on, we'll do your makeup, we'll put you there. So 10 minutes before I'm supposed to go on, I sit in the makeup chair. The lady she doesn't know what to do with my makeup, because I'm pretty sure they've never seen a brown person in that studio. So she like cakes me with as much makeup as possible. It was weird. And I sit in this chair, and they're like, you can't see any television, because you can't see the interview or anything. They just put a microphone in your ear, and they say, just stare into this camera, which is just a big black void that I'm staring into, which I guess is a metaphor for Fox News in general. So we do this interview, and I'll play this interview. I'm gonna talk over it and stuff, but here's the interview.
Selling one's soul to be saved. That is what DePaul University grad student Hemant Mehta did this week. Hement's atheist soul was sold on eBay to the highest bidder. So just how much does a soul go for these days? Hemant joins us live from Chicago.
I didn't sell my soul.
And in Seattle, we have
my face looks like it's glowing, and my teeth look like
and the ultimate bid was $504, but what exactly was it that you were auctioning off?
Well, I was auctioning off a chance to show people that atheists have an open mind.
Didn't sell my soul.
I've been to church before, so this is a chance for me to say, I'm putting my beliefs under some scrutiny. I think any belief should be able to withstand that. And, whoever's the winning bidder gets to decide where I go.
So you said, for every $10 somebody bids, I will spend an hour at some church or other services with an open mind to see whether I can be persuaded, in essence.
Sure. And
you wound up striking a deal with Jim, something along the lines of what you agreed to. And did it change your mind?
You know what? I haven't changed my mind about God just yet. I'm still an atheist. However, going to church, I think the stereotypical image I had of church, that it's this boring place you go to on a Sunday, that it's a dull place, that it's just don't do this, don't do this. That's definitely changed. The churches I've been to have had incredible music, incredible speakers. I mean, some of the pastors are great. And I get a real sense of the community there, and that wasn't there before.
And Jim, you are the lucky man who now, I guess, owns Hemant's soul. How's that working out for you? What possessed you to bid on this?
Well, I lead an organization called Off the Map, and it's been our work and our project over the last
I'm going to talk over this. One of the projects Jim is working on now, after all this stuff happened, he has a site called Church Rater, R-A-T-E-R. It's like a Yelp for churches, so people can go to their church and then rank it from 1 to 5 stars and write a review about it. And if you pay like $1,000 to $1,500, he can send his crew to your church to do a full, complete overview of what you're doing right and wrong, to reach out to non-believers.
And so we went for it, and we were lucky enough to win.
How did you find the listing?
A friend of mine sent me he sent me the link from eBay, and I just went on to the direct listing where Hemant's auction was, and I followed the instructions.
He actually told me that their entire marketing budget for Off the Map was $500, and he actually had a computer program that was programmed to snipe in, like at the last possible second with a higher bid. So they put in $504. That's all they could scrounge up, and they hoped that would win, and it just barely worked.
So we're trying to get a mixture, but they all have been some form of, believing in Christ.
And what was the biggest, I guess I'll start with the negative, what was the biggest criticism you had of the experience?
I think there's a lot of overanalyzing that goes on of biblical passages and a lot less of how it's actually relevant to our own lives. I'd love to see more of that, more of the latter.
And what was the best experience, the best part of the experience for you?
I think just the fellowship, the community that I see in a lot of these churches, that was across the board. Everyone was so friendly, everyone was so nice, and I expected that going in, but I didn't realize just, how open to strangers a lot of them were. That was nice to see.
And Jim, I guess the goal of your organization in part is to sort of recruit non-believers in a way that's not quite as imposing as some other sections of the Christian faith. Did you learn anything from Hemant that would help you in that goal?
Well, we actually hired Hemant not to convert it, but to help critique the services that we say we offer.
It was actually, one of the things he said to me via email on the phone was, the $504 that he's bidding was not like it's not rebate. He's hiring me to test these churches out, and if I get converted, it's off the clock. Like, that's not his purpose doing this.
So
I should also say, I forgot to mention this. I wanted to show that the eBay auction was not about the money. I didn't want people to think it was a scam.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
I didn't want people to think it was a scam, so the $504 I wrote on eBay was going to be donated to the Secular Student Alliance. Whatever money someone would bid was going to go to the Secular Student Alliance. My hope there, part of it was just I like the SSA. The other part was I was really afraid that some Christian might have like $1 million and want me to go to church for life. And I just wanted them to know that money would go to an atheist organization. And I should say, so a couple Christian magazines wrote about this too, and the way, this is an article in that same magazine Kirk Cameron's on the cover of this month, and if you read that little blurb, which I know you can't, it makes it sound like I converted by the end of my journey. I don't know where that came from. So it turns out Jim had written a book a couple years before all this happened called AKA Lost. Basically a book about his unusual evangelism methods, about how he does what he does. And he wrote it for this Christian publisher called Waterbrook Press, and they're owned by Random House, legit publishing company. And they were really intrigued by all the publicity that this auction got, because every time they mentioned the auction, they would mention Jim's book. Free publicity for them all the way around. So they were keeping tabs on this whole story, and they were really intrigued by the idea that I was writing this criticism of churches, and some complimentary things, but they were like, when you critique these churches, they're not getting mad at you. That's really strange. So they were like, as soon as you're done going to these 10 churches for Jim in Chicago, can we send you to more churches around the country, and we'll put that into a book? And so that's what we ended up doing. And so later on, we published this book, I Sold My Soul on eBay. And I was like, that's not what I did. I didn't sell my soul. They're like, hush, it's catchy. If you flip the book over, they'll see what you really did. So that's fine. So the book is about these churches that I went to visit. And a couple of I went to a lot of big churches. I went to Joel Osteen's in Texas, which is the biggest one. They're so big, they bought out the Houston Rockets basketball arena. And they're actually, I think they're leasing it now, but they're thinking about buying the whole stadium. I went to Ted Haggard's church right before his little scandal. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But we went to a lot of these big churches. So the book came out in April of 2007. And it sold decently well. It didn't sell as many copies as some other books, but it sold well. Is out. And some Christian magazines, this is a Christian magazine called Outreach, they actually had a poll, what's the best, they had a bunch of categories, but what's the best book to reach out to explain non-Christians? And there was a poll, and hey, my book won. It was on the cover there, that was sweet. And the best part was, and maybe the dumbest part was, Outreach conducted this poll by having an online survey. And they said, here's a list of 5 nominees for this category, who should win? By that time I knew a little bit about the internet, so I told some friends, hey, there's an online poll, can you help me? And so everyone went, they followed the bloggers and they voted for me.